Memphis. I'd like to call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Davis.
Here.
Alcine, absent. Schneider.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Zucchus
Here.
Zucchus W.
Here.
Motion excuse the absence of
Four.
Alcine, absent. Schneider.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Wilson.
yes.
Zucchus
Yes.
Zucchus W.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes. All right, moving on. Presentation, or actually introduction of Miss Memphis. We have with us Catherine Merritt, who's this year's Miss Memphis, as well as, or the first runner-up couldn't show up, Alyssa Baker, but second runner-up, Cassie Graham, is here. Congratulations, ladies. I don't know if there's any presentation you're doing to us, except for introducing yourself, and we'd like to say congratulations. And
Congratulations.
I'm sure that you'll put yourself best out there in representing the citizens of this city. Thank you.
Can we get a picture of them
Yes, if you like.
first? I mean, do they go?
Do you need to leave?
Are you gonna sit through the whole meeting?
If you don't want to sit through the whole meeting, we can take a picture now. I mean,
Okay.
it's going to be a pretty boring meeting.
Okay.
Thanks.
You have to stay.
I know. Maybe we should all.
Where would you like your picture?
Right there.
Where?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
didn't know if you had a certificate.
No, we don't have. You want to come on this side?
Anybody else can get in? Anybody else want to get in?
Oh, we'll see that.
Yeah, they can't wait.
All right, I'm gonna take two real quick. One more.
Ready? Yes.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, I never figured they wanted me. Yeah. Thank you.
Bart, that's Miss Memphis.
Thanks for coming.
Second runner-up, Cassie Graham. There.
Hi, congratulations.
Yep. All right. All right, moving on. We have Jeffrey Kingsit here from American Price Financial Services to educate us a little bit on taxpayer dollars and how we might be able to make a little better yield on our general fund that we've been, I've complained a couple times about how much money we're making off of that. So you have the floor. You can have the podium there, and or just any way you'd like to present.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to members of the council for allowing me to visit with you today. I'm going to set my papers here, but I tend to wander around when I talk, so
Okay.
I just like to kind of make eye contact with people. The question that was put to me by your clerk treasurer and your mayor is, are there other ways to invest the city's surplus funds? And is it possible they could generate better yield? The short answer is yes. There are a handful of different ways to do that. So what I want to do for you today, before I tell you just a little bit about a couple strategies, it's fair for you to ask, who is this guy? What company is he with? And so I'll tell you a little bit about that, but mainly I want to tell you about how different municipalities in Michigan do their cash management. So there is a packet in front of you, the white folder. I think most of you have opened it up. And on the left side, there is a sheet. Well, the little folder is my biography. We'll come to that in a second. The one right behind that is just information on American Price Financial. Our company was founded in 1894 in Minneapolis, and it's still based there. We're not a Wall Street company. We're very much a Middle Western company. The firm was known as IDS until 1984, when American Express purchased the company. Then it was American Express Financial Advisors until 2004, when American Express decided they didn't want to be in financial advice business anymore, and they created a new company called American Price Financial. Standing on our own, we are about number 250 on the Fortune 500 list. So we're a pretty big company. We manage about $650 billion. The most important thing that's on that sheet about my company is on the reverse side, where it says, we never take a bailout. And that's very important to you. This company is very conservative in the way it manages its own money. And when there was a great financial crisis in banking in 2008, the federal government came to us and said, "We need help." We had plenty of money in the bank. So in fact, our company acquired assets from some of those failed banks that are profitable divisions and paid cash during that crisis. So that's the company. And there's a little brochure about my background. It's fair to ask, who's this guy? I have been in financial services for 8 years, and for me that was a mid-career transition. My degrees are, my undergraduate degree is in public policy. My master's degree is in public administration. I am a policy wonk. Okay, I like government stuff. Don't ask me why, I just do. So I spent some time as a city manager. I was a city manager and a downtown development authority director in Birch Run. I was a housing commissioner in Pontiac before things got crazy over there. I was an Oakland County commissioner as well, sitting on their finance and their audit committees. So I understand government finance like someone who's sitting on that side of the table. And so what I've also taught part-time. I used to teach college part-time, and my favorite class to teach was budgeting and finance for the public services. And I would teach non-financial professionals about how to do that. I did some adjunct faculty work at Baker College, at Siena Heights University, and at Oakland University. So that's my background. My practice is in two big pieces. I have private clients, I have public clients. It's about equal in terms of how much of my attention they get. My public clients have the same objectives you do. Their first, the work that I do for them is cash management. So it's investing in short-term excess funds, and their priorities are like their properties. And we can simplify those priorities with a simple acronym, SLY. S-L-Y. Safety is the first priority, then liquidity, and then yield. And if you think about it, as a candidate, I've been a candidate as well. The worst thing you want the newspaper to say about you is you lost taxpayers' money. Safety is the number one issue. Second is liquidity. You want the money to be available, and you've got bills to pay. You don't want the paper to say that they pay bills like it's that's no good. Yield is another thing in terms of people can debate all day about how much yield you can get or should be able to get, but it's still a factor. And I think there are some strategies for the city of Memphis. I provided a little bit of information on the right side of that folder about what you're allowed to do under Michigan law. It's not something I wrote, it's a direct excerpt of the law. It's Public Act 20 of 1943, or MCL 129.91. And that identifies what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do with the money that you have. And if you take a look at the upper portion, there's a number of lines there. Start with letter A, B, C, D, etc. Those describe the sorts of things you can do. There are a handful of things there that I think are good ideas, and there are a handful of things there that I think are bad ideas. But this is what the state allows for you. Altogether, I think it's pretty, to say that these would be vanilla investments might be a little bit too strong. They're more like water. They're things that have very low risk. So for example, many municipalities invest in CDs, certificates of deposit. They're pretty safe. If you keep your investment under $250,000, they're insured by the FDIC, the Federal Depositors Insurance Corporation, and they are one good option. You can also invest in U.S. government bonds, either treasuries or U.S. government agencies, and a number of municipalities invest in either of those. Right now, treasuries pay the lowest of anything altogether. Treasuries, of all the things on the list, treasuries are paying low. Why? Because they're safe. You might say, gee, the government has all this debt. Well, there's still a rate of institutional money flowing out of Europe into U.S. treasuries just for safety purposes. But again, the yield is very low. Something that pays a little bit better than that is US government agencies, like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Farmer Mac.
Even though because they've been in serious trouble financially, they're in extreme debt right now, both of those organizations.
What we understand is that there's implied backing of the federal government. Even though they were created, they were spun off as quasi-public corporations, they're still backed by the United States government in a fine way. In fact, we saw that happen. We saw the federal government put money behind them, like they put money behind the banks in the 2008 financial crisis. So you can get a little bit better deal with those. And I'm talking in generalities, but of course rates vary day to day. And then something else that some municipalities in Michigan use are other municipal bonds. You're allowed to invest in municipal bonds from other municipalities in Michigan. I wouldn't invest in any municipal bond, but there are many municipalities in Michigan that have better ratings from Standard & Poor's and Moody's, the main investor services, than the US government does. So I think there is an option there for you to consider. Those are just some of the items that are listed on that excerpt from the law. There's some other things that are there, I won't mention them. I'm not really excited about using any of them. Some of them are more complicated than what you need here in Memphis. You need repurchase agreements or bankers' acceptances, and that's fine.
So that's the mention, you mentioned US government bonds, you mentioned the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac agency, you mentioned municipal bonds, some, and what is your interest, what would be the return as far as interest rates average, say, on those? What would be I know the higher the interest, the bigger the risk, but what would be 100% safe interest rates or interest that you might get return on a short-term basis?
They can vary quite a bit. And the most important variable is how long you invest for. So that actually brings me to something else that's in your packet that may help to answer the question. I didn't put any specific quoted rates in there. We certainly, as part of the shopping that your mayor and your staff will do, they would review the rate sheets. So on the right side, there is something that's a bond ladder. That's the one, actually. And I think it's, let me grab mine, I'll hold it up. The third one back on the right side, this is the bond ladder. And this is an idea that you might employ here very effectively. It's a very simple strategy that will allow you to get a little better yield. Right now, as I understand, you've got about $500,000 in a money market fund at a bank that yields less than 0.1%. I understand you've got some CDs as well. They've been rolling over every 6 months, about $500,000 in CDs as well. What I want to suggest is that you consider staggering the maturities in your portfolio. For example, if you've got $500,000, you might just, instead of having them all mature at the same time, perhaps have some of it mature at different points in time. One of my clients has an account about the size of yours. The treasurer there, the finance director, makes sure that there is a CD or bond that matures every quarter. That way they can decide every quarter, do I need this money? Is there an oops? Or can we roll it over again? So if you did that with, say, $500,000, you would have something mature every quarter for a year and a quarter. And at a year and a quarter, you'll get a little better yield than you will on a 6-month rate. So that's a simple idea. It's called bond ladder. It gives you safety because you're invested in multiple different instruments, not just the same kind. It gives you safety in that there's always something coming mature soon in case there's an unforeseen need.
Now, are these U.S. government bonds you're talking about?
Well, actually, he can even be talking about our CDs, doing the cycling of these through the system for like maybe even $50,000 CDs.
Yeah.
Do one every 3 months from now.
I guess what I'm
make money.
concerned about bonds is that right now, the interest rate is practically zero. And,
Just like CDs.
and if you bought a bond and interest rates went up, your bond value, unless you kept it to maturity, you can get your money back, because bonds go down. You know, it converts to the interest rate. So as a municipality, and as we have a fiduciary responsibility, since it's our taxpayers' money, I'd have to be 100% guaranteed that that principal is protected, or I'd just assume leave it where it is. So.
You said something very important in there,
Yeah.
unless you hold it to maturity.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely would not want you to buy any bond that you do not hold to maturity, because
Yeah.
buying a bond and holding it to maturity is the only way to make sure
That you're guaranteed.
Exactly.
Right.
If you sell a bond before it matures, the price may be higher than its face value.
Yeah.
You could lose some money. So that's why we want you to stagger maturities rather than make everything mature on the same day. That way, if there's a need, you've got something that's maturing soon, and that takes care of your exact concern. So it's a great question. So also on the right side, there's something else for your consideration. Unfortunately, this one has my picture on it, so I'm going to hold on to that. But it's a checklist for investing in individual bonds. And this is something that I refer to frequently as I am helping to educate municipal officials across the state about what they should look for. And inside there is 15 good questions, things to consider, not just when you're investing in a bond, but also a CD, because many of the characteristics of CDs and bonds are similar. So I wanted to make sure that that's available for you. This actually is, I distributed this at the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Conference last fall on Mountain Island, and it was very well received there too. So it's just a quick educational primer. Things for you to look for. The last thing I want to point to in the package is something that you might consider as well. Many municipalities adopt an investment policy. In fact, I'm not an attorney, but I've been told by attorneys that the state requires you to have one. There's a sample of a municipal investment policy, an uncomplicated one, 2 pages, that was issued by the state of Michigan Treasury Department. And I just offered this to you as an example of an investment policy, what ought to be in it. And what you can do is, I'm not going to take you through all the steps here, but certainly the design, purpose, scope, objective. And the objectives listed in this sample are very similar to what I said: safety, liquidity, and yield. And here it says safety, diversification, which is probably safety, liquidity, and return of investment, which is important. It's when the investment policy makes clear who has authority to invest the money. And so there is a sample of the sample group there. And some municipalities will go so far as to take some of the wording from the law, from those section 1, A through G over here, from the law, and just drop that into the policy. Or maybe they'll just select certain ones of that section, A through G, and put just those in your policy. So if you didn't want to have, for example, commercial paper, which is a short-term corporate bond, you move that up. That says you don't have that. So that's the information I wanted to share with you, but I want to make this relevant for you. Are there any questions that you guys have?
Yeah, I would, you didn't really answer my question.
Sorry.
What would be reasonably expected return if we had if you did invest something that you were proposing? At one time, with our investments, we got maybe an interest, when interest were better, we probably got anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 a year. Now, I don't expect we'd ever get that return in this environment.
Okay.
But, and our investments right now is what, probably 0.5%, is that?
Not even
Oh, yeah.
0.0001,
Okay. So I guess what I'm saying to you, if you presented a proposal that to us, and it could be variable bonds maturing at different dates and so on, what would that expected return be? If it's only gonna be 0.5%, it's not worthwhile doing. I'd rather have the security we have now, knowing that principal is 100% safe. So I guess you didn't answer my question, or maybe you can't answer your question unless you put a portfolio together. I don't know.
The
I don't
proper
know
way
which
for
one
me
is
to
why,
show
but,
rates.
yeah.
You should look at it, that's fine. Proper way for me to show you rates is to show you rates of bonds that are available that day. And so if I showed you this today, rates could vary a little bit tomorrow, or those bonds may be bought by somebody else by then. Simply what we'll do with a client is, if I know they've got a bond or a CD maturing, to the 15th, we'll set an appointment, we'll talk probably the morning of the 15th, before the treasurer gets to work, and we'll send a list of what's available that day. And we'll talk through what's available that meets the needs. So if the treasurer says, we want an 18-month CDR bond, then I'll look for what maturities right around the target maturity date. We'll show yield, we'll show ratings, it'll show who's issuing it, if there's insurance, it'll show who insures it. So your question is a good one, and it needs to be answered, but the answer I can give you today would be different from the answer.
I realize that it changes from day to day, month to month, and so on. But you must have
I mean, could we get
some
1%?
some idea whether it would be 1% or 1.5%. You must have some idea of what a representative portfolio.
Could you give us an example of your
Yeah.
most recent transaction?
Or an
Right,
average
you
over,
do this,
an
you do
average
this
over
on
the
a
last
daily
month?
basis. So let's say over the past week, what has been the average return on your clients' monies over the last week?
My clients have different objectives. Some of my clients have fund balances that are huge, and they can invest out 5 years plus. One of my clients wants to invest cash out 15 years. So the most important variable is how long maturities you choose to be.
No,
If
if
you want to
we
go
got
2
into,
years,
if we got into a cycle,
yes.
like we had talked about, we would want something to, maybe, I don't know what would be a good amount, $50,000, break it into 50,000, that's 10 pieces. Or maybe we break it into 12 pieces and have it start doing one a month. I mean, that way it's always cycling through. The problem with that is, it would have to be handled by either our finance committee or, one of us, and it becomes a burden on you or us as an entity. So, I mean, quarterly doesn't sound too bad to have it cycling through. So if we divide our $500,000 by, say, 8 and do it over 2 years, and have those cycling through a year or maybe even a year and a half, 18 months, or 2 years even. Every 2 years, if we can break it into 2 years, and every investment is a 2-year bond or a 2-year CD, we're gonna make a lot more than we're making on a 6-month CD.
Great point. So I can prepare, I
Okay.
did not prepare such a document for you today, but I can prepare a sample letter.
Well,
letter
yeah, there's
proposal.
one question I wanted to ask, and it says commercial paper, it's number C.
Mhm.
And it says you can have it mature not no more than 270 days from date of purchase.
Yes.
Now, is that's just that one investment?
That one investment.
Okay.
I do not.
What is
I do
commercial
not-
paper? Exactly.
That's a great question. It's a short-term corporate bond. It's the only kind of corporate bond that you can invest in legally. I do not do this with my clients. It's a personal choice. Everything else, if you read that list of what you can invest in, it's all a great deal more safe than any sort of corporate bond. So I see my clients in different things.
Yeah. Okay, I think then, before we would even, I mean, my opinion, and I'm only one member of the council, I think before we would even consider a change in what we're doing, I would like to see an example of a portfolio that might mature every quarter.
Could we do a mock run?
Yeah,
I can send you.
and what I wanted 100% safe. I don't want that, any danger of that principle ever being not there. Now, I don't know if you can do that or not, but I'm really concerned.
Well, as he
about
said,
that-
what it slides, safety, liquidity,
Yeah.
and yield. That's the order we have to consider things.
Yeah, and see it.
Well, I'd just like to remind you that
There's number
being
one.
safe for the last 2 years, we lost $26,000 out of our rainy day funds. We had to put 20,000 into our budget last year and 6,000 this year.
Yeah,
So
and,
if you're not making any money, you're losing money.
yeah, so, that's right, it's coming out of the rainy day fund now, that's right. And the last 3 budgets, we haven't been able to balance.
What I've got, what I've gotten out of this presentation, which is, I appreciate you coming and presenting, is that we do need to look into these options. We need to look at cycling of our money better, and we need to consider an investment policy as well. So, I mean, hopefully we can get a motion sent investment policy either to finance or advisory.
Before we.
That should be our first step,
Before
in
we
your
do
opinion,
that,
would be a
let's
policy.
see,
It would be a good idea.
yeah, let's see what you can come up with, an example of some portfolio on the criteria.
Well, at this point,
that-
it doesn't matter. If you read the investment policy, it just says we're gonna be fiscally responsible with our people's money.
And who's gonna be in charge of it?
And, yeah, and we need to have that in place. We can't make any decisions, I don't believe, until we have an investment policy.
Well, what I,
We can do, you can do a mock, hopefully, if you can deal with Larry and do a mock run.
Sure.
We all rely on Larry, and he's totally, and as far as finances go, I would trust him with my wallet before I trust myself.
well,
So,
I'm gonna be a jailer with money, I'll tell you that up front. Yeah.
Which is good, we need that.
Yeah.
We definitely need that.
I will prepare a sample laddered portfolio with maturities quarterly, and for what sum of money? $500,000?
Well, if we took.
I would say just for, as this example, we may change this later, if we proceed, we may change this later. But I would say, use an example of $500,000.
Okay.
And
Quarterly maturities out to.
yeah, quarterly
years,
maturity
out to
out,
18 months?
Yeah,
2 years maybe?
couple of years.
Okay, a couple of years. I can do that, might need a book tomorrow, I can do that.
Well, there's no-
Send that to Donna.
Yeah, there's no rush, just fax it to John, or email if you can do. I'm not, I don't work with computers, so.
Twitter Larry.
And then wait for your reply.
So, yeah, if you'll email it to the city, that would be fantastic. And
Yeah.
we can at least start, you know what, even if we're not investing money, we can start playing with what if we were? What would come of it? And see, you know, even if we don't do anything for 6 months, if we're messing with it for 6 months and Larry's getting a chance to look at what's going on, we're getting educated on what's out there while we make an investment policy, then 6 months from now, we're gonna be a lot better off at handling our general fund and our taxpayers' dollars with those 3 things in mind: safety, liquidity, and yield. Yield is last, but right now, it's just terrible.
Well,
There are
if
options
you don't
out
mind,
there.
do that scenario or do that for us, and then we'll
Will
see,
do.
and we'll see what happens. In the meantime,
Thank you.
I'll read this over and I'll, on this policy, I'll read this over for you.
All right, Jeffrey, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you very
Mayor.
much.
Thank you, members of council.
Thank you, nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you.
And, you know, next year we have our budget meetings, we'll send you a letter if you want to come join them, they're fun.
I've had some fun budget meetings, and those happen the best ones.
Well, we all get along real well, so it's not, I think we've done they've done a great job working on the budgets. Our department heads have done a great job, and we've done very well for a small town that has gotten our shared revenue cut over $100,000 in the last 10 years.
Well, I hope I didn't put you on the spot too much, but thank you for coming.
You did your job.
All right,
I'm
let's
gonna
move on.
sneak out, I promise to have a little girl some ice cream.
All right.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Moving on, non-agenda items from sidelines. I did not have any. Comments from city administration. Donna? Bart? Chief?
Yes. We did pay some of our full person to the 4D
dealership. There's a sensor that needs to be replaced. With labor, it's over $800.
Wow.
This vehicle is over 6 years old. Mileage isn't that high, however, I don't think replacing it and keeping that car in service is the best.
No, is it still functioning, or is
The
this?
brakes will work, but the sensor, being that it's disabled, if we need ABS, they will not turn on. So going to and from short calls, there's probably won't be an issue.
Once it snows, I mean, it might become an issue if the brakes
Right.
lock up. So, I mean, we need to start considering a new patrol car before winter, definitely. It also wouldn't be too good in the rain.
And we're already over budget as far as our repair and maintenance.
And
This
next year, if
fiscal
we
year?
replace it, our maintenance budget's gonna be gone, so.
Your what budget?
The repair and maintenance,
How much is it to take the ABS light bulb out?
I thought of that. I do think, although I don't wanna deplete that salvage fund, I do think buying a patrol car out of that is probably our best bet.
Can we do that?
Yes, we can do that. I talked to the, last time when we bought the other vehicle,
Yeah.
I talked to both the attorney and to our auditors, and they said that anything that is bought for the department that does investigations toward stolen vehicles, which is the entire department, can come out of salvage.
Do you want the police committee to look at that then and proceed, and then no
On getting
objection?
patrol
Well,
car out of salvage.
The reason why we brought it to council was because our repair and maintenance budget is shot,
Mhm.
and we didn't want to just spend $800 when the chief called me about it. I didn't want to give it to go ahead and spend $800 on a vehicle that we're probably going to be getting rid of.
So we can not spend that money, look into getting a new car, put that car up for auction with that light on. You know, that's what I would advise, and you've talked to, through his contacts at Macomb County about
Through
patrol
the
vehicles?
county bid, yeah, we can get a Charger for roughly 21, but that's not including decals and transferring all the equipment,
Which is about another $3,000 to $5,000,
at
correct?
least.
Okay. So we're looking at $26,000, $27,000, and how much is in salvage?
In our reserve, I believe it's 31 or 37,000.
Well, that money will keep coming in, and we don't rely on that for day-to-day operations, so.
Yeah, but is this, what model are you looking at? I mean, what make are you looking at? Is it-
Charger.
The Dodge Charger,
Dodge Charger.
Dodge,
It's the cheapest.
it is? Okay.
if they even have any available,
Yeah.
that could be another issue.
It's actually cheaper than what we paid for a Crown Victoria 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We were paying about $27,000.
Now, are they, are they good police vehicle?
Charger.
Are they very good police vehicle?
Yes.
A lot of police departments are using them, and I've gone and I've talked to the guys in Yale, they say it's a great car, Armada has them.
The Dodge Charger is the only vehicle that state police actually trains with and test drives.
And it is 8-cylinder that clicks to 4 whenever you're driving just city. I know they have select
That
cylinder.
might be a different option.
I know they have some that are V8s that go down to 4 cylinders to save gas when you're just cruising around town. But that power's there if you ever need it.
The option that's 21,000 is a V6.
Okay.
The V8, I believe, is another 4,000 or 5,000.
Well, I don't really think we need a
see
V8
it's
because
necessary
we're,
to have that.
1 square mile.
Probably not. Well, I really think the police committee or somebody should look into it and then bring it back to council.
All right, so we're gonna look into purchasing a new car, hopefully through the county's purchasing program,
Yeah.
Right,
and we're gonna use the salvage money, right?
right.
Yeah. If that's.
That's what I would suggest.
And I
mean,
think with the sale of this patrol car, the money should go back into the salvage fund, if that's even possible.
And I would agree to that because you're spending money out of salvage
Right.
and that's just replacing.
Yeah, if you can do that, if not, put it back in equipment replacement.
Right.
If you know, as an alternative, so.
All right.
Do we, so you want a motion to that effect that,
To send it to the police committee?
yeah, and have them look into, which the new.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Schneider,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Lukasar,
Yes.
Lucas W.
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hassan, absent.
Do you have anything else?
That's it.
Are you in?
Sure. No, I have nothing.
All right. Adoption or amendment of the agenda?
I have two amendments to the agenda, and under new business number 5, Norm, manager, electrical inspector, well, not resigning, but it's retiring. And then under L, under other new business from the city council, I'd like you to put their executive session for the police contract. No further changes, I make a motion we adopt the agenda as amended.
That'll be after everything,
After
everything
comments
else, right
from
at the
city
end.
administrator.
Yeah, then we'll go in executive session, discuss it.
need a motion, or I mean a second? Support.
Weaver,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Lukasar,
Yes.
Lucas W.
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hassan, absent. Schneider.
Yes.
All right. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at the regular meeting minutes of June 5th, 2012. If there's no changes on those, I'd entertain a motion to accept those.
So moved.
Support.
Wilson,
Yes.
Lukasar,
Yes.
Lucas W.
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hassan, absent. Schneider,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes. Communication, there are none. Unfinished business, there are none. New business number 1, the corrected administrative memo number 6 regarding budget amendments. You should all have a gray box on your memo with a note. Basically, these are house cleaning budget amendments that we do from time to time. We just need a motion if no one has any questions to approve those to clean up our budget.
I'll make that motion that we approve administrative amendment number 6 on budget amendments.
Support.
Lukasar,
Yes.
Lucas W.
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hassan, absent. Schneider,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
All right. Next item, CDBG RE fiscal year 2012 additional $13,500 allocated to Cole Street. This is something Larry's been handling for us, so I'm gonna let him take the floor. Larry?
Yeah, we got a verbal, well, we've been going back and forth, I guess, with McClassic on this for a month or 2 now. And we did get a verbal commitment that this is going to go through. And we were supposed to have a commitment letter on Friday, but as of this date, we have not received it.
I was wondering what that C letter meant.
Pardon?
I was wondering what C letter meant.
Yeah, yeah, it was supposed to come through. When I wrote this up, that was supposed to come through, and I wrote this up prior to having that letter, but after we got the verbal commitment.
We budgeted
Yeah,
for this in our budget
Yes.
without that 13.
Yes, we did, so that's what I wanted to bring to council's attention, that we did put it in the budget that we proceed with Cole Street by taking the additional funds of 13,000 or 13,500 from there, and then doing the street this year with the idea that future CDBG funds that would reimburse local streets. So I think what I would, if it's okay with council, I think I'd like to approve this anyway, and if the funds come through, then we just begin reimbursed earlier, that's all. So, we did get a verbal commitment this coming, so, so if there's any questions, ask me, and if there's not, then I'll make a motion that we,
So I got a question. I got a real quick question. If we do get the 13,500, that will be a budget amendment that will make it where we're not taking $5,000 out of
Yes.
our
yeah, we'll
general fund, which
Right,
is good for everyone.
Yeah, we'll just amend the budget to adjust for that, rather than having other local streets that come from the city.
All right, fantastic. Well, do you make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Basically, we had budgeted to go ahead and fix Cole Street. now it's just saying, let's move forward and let's do what we budgeted for. So, he made a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, let's vote, guys.
Lucas W.
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hassan, absent Schneider,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Lukasar.
Yes.
All right, moving on, new business number 3, Police Department, Municipal Civil Infraction Ordinance number 191. This is something the police committee's been handling with Chief, and I just wanted to preface this with, I mean, some people have asked questions why we're doing this, but the truth is we're not doing this to make money. This is not a, you know, a money-making thing. It's just when we give tickets and have to pay an officer to go to court out of the city into Romeo or up into Port Huron, and the part that the city gets back actually is costing us money to write people tickets. So this is just so we can, first of all, our citizens or whoever pays the ticket can pay less. They can pay here, and we don't lose first an officer out of the area to go testify, and we can keep money in our city.
Okay, I have two questions. The first question is this went through our attorney yet, or is it just?
That's what we're gonna do tonight. That's
Okay,
why I brought it so that we can send it to the
Okay,
attorney.
the second question then is, there's no reference to the fines or so on.
That's
Is that
probably
gonna be
done,
added, or what?
that's done by
Right there.
resolution, I hope. I mean, so we don't have to change the ordinance.
Right, and that's gonna be a thing that will probably start off as, you know, one page, and up over time, it will probably be added on to.
See master fee resolution 11913.
Okay. Yeah, because I see here the fines for the violations below shall be as follows, but there's nothing here. That's
We
what
didn't,
I'm
we didn't
wondering.
fill that part in.
Okay, now, are you gonna do that before you send it to the attorney, or are you gonna
They
wait
have-
till?
Well, that's not a legal question, how much we're charging.
It'll be less than the state fines, for something that happens in town, so we didn't really think that was that important to have that part go to the attorney. We were just kind of hoping to have him go over what we put together and, give us the okay or not. I don't think I'm sure it's gonna have to come back to us, we're gonna have to do a little more work on it. But as far as the fines themselves, we'll probably, I would imagine, you know, 75% of whatever the state fine would be or something.
And I would hope that, like I said, I would hope that would be set by resolution so that we wouldn't have to go through the whole process just to change
Well,
the fine.
Definitely.
And if it could be, might have to be mentioned in here that fines could be changed by resolution.
Right.
But then, and then it's up to the attorney to go over and critique it.
So maybe we should also put that in the cover letter to him, how to set fines, and can we do it and change them by resolution?
I'm sure certainly we can, that definitely should be in the cover letter to the attorney.
Okay.
Now, I noticed also that in one section, it says issue tickets by the health officer, the building inspector, and the fire chief. Then the other section is the police chief. I guess that's separate, then one is separate from the other, but that isn't a problem, right?
Right.
Well, and I mean, it's possible that, I mean, you could give Bart a ticket book and let him write tickets to people, but I think, realistically, you'd be more likely for Bart to call the police and say, I have a violation over here, this person needs a ticket. And you would just post it on their door or first class.
That's what we do with the fire department right now. Any like illegal burn or anything like that, we call the sheriff's department out of the city. They come in, they issue the ticket to the person.
Well, if it's
But
in-
obviously,
if
this
it's
is
in
new
the
to us.
city.
If it was in the city, we would
There's
call
more
the
questions than
police.
answers
We
right
don't
now.
want it, you know.
But we're just trying to control our court costs and the gas. I mean, you know, just to send someone to court.
Well, they're there are other towns, there's a lot of.
Right,
Absolutely.
exactly, that's the other
So,
thing, we're
yeah.
paying an officer to not
Yeah.
protect our town.
So I understand, I think it's a good idea.
So, we,
How do they fight it? They don't.
If they choose to fight it, then it does actually go into a district court. They're issued a normal state ticket.
This is only
Okay.
valid if they admit to the.
but it would end up saving the money just to pay the
None of
ticket.
the citations go on
Does
their
it-
driving record.
None of them go on the driving
There's
record.
no
This is
points.
This is a benefit to our citizens should they be driving stupid, which I do from time to time, so it might be a benefit to me to pay a city ticket.
Don't worry, we got some filled out with your name on them already.
All right, fantastic.
I'm surprised you admit that.
Oh, well,
So anyways,
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to send this to the attorney, and we'll include a cover letter as far as how we are gonna set the fines, and that we can change them by ordinance,
By resolution,
by resolution, I mean, yeah.
I'll support
Davis,
Yes.
Hussein, absent Schneider,
Yes.
Weaver,
yes.
Wilson,
yes.
Lukasar,
Yes.
Lukastet.
I'd like to thank the chief for
Yes,
working
yes.
on this too.
All right, moving on, library board. We have a memo from Kim Gershaw, who's the president of Memphis Public Library Board of Trustees. She'd like to recommend Nina Powers and Dorothy Morgan to fill the vacant positions on Library Board of Trustees, the terms that expire in 2015. Hopefully she's talked to them before we appoint them. Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to appoint Nina Powers and Dorothy Morgan to the Library Board of Trustees.
I'll make a motion, we accept Nina Powers and Dorothy Morgan onto our library board with the terms to expire in 2015.
Support.
Hussein, absent Schneider,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Lukasar,
Yes.
Lukastet.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
All right, moving on. New business number 5. To Mayor Weaver and City Council, time has come for me to retire my position of electrical inspector from the city of Memphis. I will continue as inspector until you appoint a new inspector. It was a pleasant experience working with the city people all these years. Norbert Inninger. Sad to see Norbert go. He's been with us a long time.
Yes, he has.
Matter of fact, I don't even remember another one, but I've only lived here for 12 years. But
Well, he's been here as long as I've been on the city.
Because you're my baby.
So that's
well,
why-
wow.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
been approximately 20 years.
Well, then he's going to be deeply missed, and I appreciate his commitment to our community. As I've always said, it's not easy to find people to get involved in these local public positions. I have asked Donna to call Raleigh Township as well as Richmond to find out who their electrical inspector is, and if he might be interested in just broadening his reach a little bit. It'd be nice to have somebody who's from the area. It's not, I mean, we're already looking into a mechanical inspector, and now we're gonna have to find an electrical inspector. I don't know how quickly Norbert would like us to do this, but hopefully he'll know that we'll take care of it as soon as we can. So I guess we just need a motion to accept his, well, it's not really a
It's not
resignation yet.
Resignation yet, no, so I.
So I don't even know what we need to do
I
here, so
would
say
s-
thank you for staying till we can find somebody else.
So do you need a motion to put an ad in the paper or something like that, or?
Do we put it in the paper?
Are you,
No, I'll be writing it up.
Oh, she's writing a story on it, so anybody that's interested,
No, I'll still be.
tell them, give us a call. Give the city a call, the phone number's 392.
I think we'll just use this as information at this time,
Right.
and wait till we find someone, then we accept this resignation.
Okay. Give her the rest of the phone number, she doesn't want.
2385.
2385. Okay, moving on. Other business from the mayor. I watch these on TV and the other city councils around, and I notice you can't really tell whose city council is what. And it's just, most of us sit in a bland room like this. And I considered putting the city of Memphis written on the wall somehow. Larry had sent me to a gentleman up in Emmett. What's it? Richard Hess. And he's a woodworker. He does a lot of neat things. And I had offhand, I was looking at one of his signs in there, and I said, do you know a sign painter or somebody who could do this? Because I was wanting to get a quote. And he said that he could do a sign that says City of Memphis somehow, if we come up with some kind of design. I'd like to have something where when people are watching, they see the City of Memphis you know, that's who you're watching, whether it's, you know, some type of symbol or some type of logo or something. I don't know how we put out there that we would accept artwork from local people. It'd be good to have it be a local, like, almost like a contest or where people could come in and tell us what they want it to look like, some type of design. And I'd like it to look very professional and, you know, maybe something like an old drugstore sign or, you know, something
I
neat.
think maybe she could do it.
So, I mean, I'm open to having people come up here and give us suggestions, maybe draw something up on a piece of paper, and I can take it to him and get a quote. It's not gonna cost us anything to get a quote and find out if it's something we wanna do. As well as, I mean, if there's a sign company out there, or a graphic design company that wants to come in and present
I
something.
have an assortment of spray paint
You wanna do it?
throughout the
You wanna
years,
personally
20
do it?
years of spray, a little bit here, a little bit there. I think it'd be unique.
It would be.
I'll say that.
I'd be careful there.
I would like it to look, I mean, very professional. I want it to,
I withdraw my offer.
There you go.
I want it to be where it can be readable
I withdraw my offer.
and all the words spelled correctly.
I withdraw my offer.
So, you know, I'm open to taking designs and I believe it also, if people are able to put forward from the community, it gives them an investment in us as a city council as well. But that's all I have. Larry,
I have nothing.
Robbie,
No, I don't have anything, thanks.
you have anything?
Nothing for me.
Eric?
I'd just like to quickly mention that on July 9th, there's going to be a neighborhood watch meeting here at the council chambers.
Fantastic.
That's all I have.
Bill?
Motion to go to executive,
Okay, go ahead.
motion to go to executive session?
Doris?
July 29th.
You have to
Right,
leave.
did I-
Yeah.
I'll leave my tape recorder.
Can you stop?